Well, hey everybody, I'm John Ritlin with a retro review of WWE No Mercy 1999. Not the UK version that was in May, but the US version. And yeah, they were 5 months apart. The UK version was not very good. The US version had its moments. It was also the first post Vince Russo pay-per-view in a number of years since he had been involved with the company because he went to WCW and then we saw how that turned out. There was a lot of messy shit on this show, but there was a nice flow to it. When the show hit its high points, there was actually some good stuff to it. The problem is there was a lot of the typical Attitude Era bullshit. Look, I know that the Attitude Era is revered. I love quite a bit of it, but there was quite a bit of horrible stuff in WWE, WCW, and in ECW, though more in the two bigger companies since ECW influenced both companies quite a bit. But enough of that. We start with The Godfather versus Mideon with Viscera and Godfather's hoes were there at ringside. Yes, 1999 was a fun time where women were taken so seriously in WWE. Yeah, it went on too long. Godfather should have won in a few minutes, and I think it was like 7.5 minutes. Viscera kept interfering, and eventually Godfather got the win with the dreaded roll-up, and then hit Viscera afterwards. So Godfather won. Cool, whatever. It was an okay opener, I guess. Wasn't anything really that good. We then get a high package for Triple H and Austin later in the evening in their Anything Goes, no holds barred WWE Championship match. And we get a Triple H promo talking about how he tricked Austin, where Austin had unleashed a rattlesnake on Triple H, and then he had gotten bitten, and some purple stuff was on his face. Not like purple stuff or Sunny D. Not like that commercial. No, it was like he was actually bitten and poisoned, and then it was a trick, and it was all that. And yeah, 1999 was a little rough. It was a little weird, but anyway, we had Triple H say at one point a line, along the lines of, "I'm gonna walk out the WWF Championship." To be fair, he was still getting into the main event slot at this point. And then we get Ivory versus the Fabulous Moolah with Mae Young at ringside for the WWE Women's Championship. And oh dear, poor Ivory. Ivory deserves so much better than this. Now, to be fair, Ivory got in a whole lot of shots, was hitting Mae, was attacking Moolah. There were a lot of old people jokes by Lawler. And yes, Ivory got in some offense, but it was like a 3.5 minute match. To be fair, nobody expected Moolah to really do all that much when she was in her 70s. But Moolah ended up hitting another dreaded roll-up, 1, 2, 3, and the Fabulous Moolah is the new WWF Women's Champion. Fucking Christ. Fucking goddamn Christ. This was goddamn rotten. I'm sorry. Fuck the Fabulous Moolah. I'm glad that she's gone. For all that she did to bury the women's division for years and years and years, all over, it's a good thing that she's no longer. I'm sorry, I don't fucking care how harsh that is. Fuck the Fabulous Moolah. I've never been a fan of her. Mae at least took the bumps and stuff like that. Poor Ivory. Ivory just deserves so much better. But anyway, let's get on with the Hollies, Hardcore and Crash Holly versus New Age Outlaws. New Age Outlaws have recently lost the tag team championships to The Rock and Mankind on an episode of SmackDown. So this match was happening. It was fine. Road Dogg got beat up for quite a bit, and then Billy Gunn made the hot tag. There was some good, exchanges here. Both these teams actually worked pretty well together. Hardcore Holly slides a chair in. Billy Gunn hits the Famouser, but the referee sees it and says, "Wait a second, you used a chair, DQ," even though it was the Hollies that pushed the chair in. So the Hollies win by DQ. Okay, whatever. We then get on to the Good Housekeeping match. There isn't a lot really to cover except for the big matches in case you wonder why I'm rushing through some of this stuff. But we get Jeff Jarrett versus China, Good Housekeeping match for the Intercontinental Championship. Jeff Jarrett's last match in WWE for a good while. I mean, he was basically taken out for a number of years. I mean, he wasn't even part of the buyout, WCW buyout. Then Impact Wrestling happened, and then all that. Now he's back with the company. It is what it is. But I guess apparently his contract rolled over while he was champion, and he didn't actually have to appear, but he agreed to appear for a large sum of money. Some say $200,000, some say $300,000. I'm not actually sure. Good on Jeff Jarrett. The match was what it was. It was an over-gimmicked, overdone, hardcore battle royal with a bunch of appliances, kitchen sink, a pie, some salami, a coffee pot on a table, ironing board, a guitar. The championship was used at one point. There was a kitchen sink being used. Everything was basically used in all this. And then you had Stacy Carter, the cat, somebody that never deserved to be in wrestling either, at ringside. But China worked better when she was with the guys, to be perfectly honest. Really, with the exception of that match with Lita, all of her matches were usually squashes when she faced off against women. She worked better with the guys. Jarrett did put her over proper. There was this one point where he used the Intercontinental Championship to win, but since it's not a household item, they restarted the match, and then China managed to get the win after using a guitar, which is stored in a household, and 1, 2, 3. China, first ever woman to win the Intercontinental Championship, and I think would go on to win it a couple more times, 2 or 3 more times. Monumental moment. Matches. I'm not a big fan of hardcore matches, to be perfectly honest, or like not always, but the match was what it was, and China did get the win, which was the ultimate payoff. That's really where we needed to go with it. So it was what it was. We then get The Rock versus the British Bulldog, and we go outside immediately, and we just, apparently no DQ in this one either, because a chair got used at one point. It wasn't bad, but it just wasn't great, because it was sad to see the British Bulldog at this point, at this stage of his career, after that, nearly career-ending back injury that he suffered at Fall Brawl about a year before this, about 13 months before this, because of the trapdoor incident, because there was a trapdoor for Ultimate Warrior to come through, and nobody told the fucking wrestlers. So whoever was in charge of that should have had to have paid for British Bulldog's medical bills. Goddamn. I know accidents happen, but that was a preventable one. Anyway, Bulldog hit his power slam. Rock got his foot on the rope. Soon after, rock bottom, people's elbow, 1, 2, 3. Not the last time we see The Rock. We get to see him 2 more times tonight. Was what it was. They had a bit of a feud going back a couple months, so at least this was a way to blow it off. And then we get Terry on a ladder in a short skirt and a short top while King is watching her, because pervy King and all that stuff and everything. Terry Reynolds, by the way, pretty underappreciated, as far as like a manager and a valet and stuff like that. But the reason she's on a ladder is because we have a $100,000 ladder match. It's the final in the best of 5 Terry Invitational Tournament. Terry Invitational Tournament. Tit. It's tit. It's boob jokes. That's what it is. Edge and Christian and the Hardys. This was good. This was goddamn fabulous. This was pretty much, I would say this was the match of the night, just over the main event. Just barely, but just over the main event. Great stuff. The bumps were insane. It was a precursor to the triangle ladder match at WrestleMania 2000. The TLC matches that were to follow. The Hardys and Edge and Christian did so goddamn well here. The Hardys eventually did win. Jeff Hardy grabbed the sack of money up there and then fell off, tumbling off a ladder. It's the last time that Jeff Hardy would ever take a scary bump off a ladder for about a month or 2 months. The whole point of this is, though, the Hardys got, an ovation. Edge and Christian were still in the ring. Standing ovation from a lot of the fans there is very appreciated. And then I think they even got a standing ovation the next night on Raw, if I recall correctly. I might have to watch that if I get a chance, but I do recall them getting a standing ovation. This was a fabulous match. This is where things started to pick up. The Good Housekeeping match is where things started to pick up. Some of the matches just weren't necessarily bad, but they just felt kind of eh. This is one of those ones that felt pretty goddamn good. And then we get a long, recap of Mankind on Sunday Night Heat looking for The Rock. He is told by the Holly cousins, Hardcore and Crash, that Rock's in the bathroom. And, Mankind's like, oh boy, okay, here, let me hand you my book and everything. Well, wait, then he suddenly sees The Rock in the hallway. Who's actually out there? It was Val Venus in the stall. And then Val Venus beats him up and kicks him and said, thanks for the book. And that's how we have our match. We have our match based on the fact that Mankind, who wrote Have a Nice Day, and a couple other books after that, it was over a book. Now, to be fair, that was, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in Mick Foley's book. I mean, and, literally and figuratively. But there's a stupid way to start a feud. It was okay, but Foley was so done by this point. It just was really sad to see Foley at this stage of his career. He was not very... He really wasn't very, mobile or anything. And he'd beaten his body to shit. I'm not trying to downplay anything Foley said or pick on him. It was just so sad to see him like this. We got the Rocco thing, the Rock's face on a sock, because Foley pulled that out. Val Venus pulled out one at one point. And we got the Rocco claw and the testicular claw in a spot, and also at one point earlier in the match, we actually got a backdrop on the chair, which I can't imagine why Foley started having memory issues when he hit his head on the back of the chair. But anyway, the Rocco testicular claw thing. Mankind falls down, Val falls down, and Val falls on with his arm on top of Foley. 1, 2, 3. So yeah, Val Venus pins Mankind. Val Venus, who didn't really go on to do all that much. I'm sorry, he didn't. He was a former Intercontinental Champion, former 2-time Intercontinental Champion, but that was a niche gimmick. That's really, I never really cared for the Val Venus gimmick, even during the time when, I was a teenager watching the Attitude Era. And then we get Farouk versus Bradshaw versus Kane versus X-Pac, 4-corner elimination match. Even though for a while they worked this like it was a tag match, like it was the Acolytes versus Kane and X-Pac. But there had been tension between X-Pac and Kane, and Kane didn't really want to fight him, but X-Pac wanted to prove that he wasn't the weak link of the team, and then that would eventually lead to X-Pac's heel turn, which was what it was. X-Pac was actually always a better heel anyway, at least in the ring. I mean, now he's a cool guy with his own podcast or his own radio show. And what I've heard, he doesn't hold back, and it's truly appreciated. Anyway, match started off hot, went outside. There was some good shit, some good bumps. Then things kind of broke down a little bit. Eventually, chokeslam eliminated Bradshaw, and then right after that, spinning kick off the ropes. X-Pac pins Kane. Kane kicks out like 3.5, so he doesn't really look weak, or it looks weird. It was a very weird 3 count. And then X-Pac eliminates Farouk soon after. So it was like pretty much like 6-7 minutes, almost 8 minutes actually, and then the last 2 minutes were just eliminations. So it was what it was. X-Pac won, proving he's not the weak link. And then again, the feud happened. So then we get to Triple H versus Austin, WWE Championship match. Anything goes, no holds barred. Fabulous. Well done. Great stuff. This was absolutely great. It's how you establish Triple H as a dastardly heel, even though I have my own things to say about Triple H as the wrestler. Really, Triple H a wrestler, and I got my reason I'm standing by that. I did a video on Triple H's Reign of Terror back like early last year, if you really want to check that out, because I really enjoyed doing that and getting angry about shit. But anyway, this was fabulous. Wild brawling into the crowd, ref bumps, some weapon spots and everything. These guys did really go all out, and it's a good thing they did Anything Goes, because Austin was having neck issues. He would be written off of Survivor Series the month after this, because he needed neck surgery. And he kept going and going and going until the doctor said, you either get this done or you're probably going to be paralyzed. And even then, you're probably not going to wrestle way too long. But you don't get this done, you're probably going to be paralyzed next time. It was after effects of that pile driver, the Tombstone pile driver that Owen Hart gave him a total accident at SummerSlam 97. Almost said WrestleMania 97, and I knew that wasn't right. Because Austin got put over by Brett. So at least I got the Hart thing right. Yes, let's go with that. Anyway. Announcer's table spot. Triple H was bleeding. A suplex, with Austin onto the announcer's table. Triple H was bleeding earlier. We got Mike Chioda getting a ref bump earlier on. Earl Hebner comes down, gets in a shoving match with Triple H, and then Earl gets taken out. We get Mike Chioda back in. Austin goes nuts with a chair, just rattling Triple H's back and leg and this kind of stuff, just rattling him, beating him up and everything. We get more, bullshit and stuff like that. Rock runs down with a sledgehammer, because Rock had actually cut a promo earlier in the night and then gotten laid out with a sledgehammer by Triple H. So that was already, this is the 3rd appearance of The Rock on that night. And it was what it was, and it fit. I mean, Rock had his ribs already taped up or whatever. It was awfully quick, and boy, he really managed to get back from the trainer's room awfully quick. Runs down with a sledgehammer, accidentally hits Stone Cold Steve Austin, gets a pedigree from Triple H. Triple H covers Austin. 1, 2, 3. So Triple H retains. Dastardly heel work. And that's really how you build it. So honestly, that was a pretty good way to end it. Again, I don't really ever feel that Triple H should be the champion. And I got my own reasons for feeling that way. But at the time, they were trying to do something because they needed to write Austin out of storylines. And I mean, he would be written out again at the following pay-per-view for a number of months. He wouldn't return until, I think, Unforgiven. It was either Unforgiven 2000 or No Mercy 2000. I think it was Unforgiven 2000. But he was written out for quite a while. I mean, he would make occasional TV appearances, but wouldn't wrestle. So, overall, there were some highlights. This was overall a pretty average pay-per-view, but the highlights were goddamn good. There were some lowlights and everything. Was this a great pay-per-view? No. Did it age well? No. But there were 3 really good matches to check out. I mean, Good Housekeeping maybe wasn't the best match, but still, it was historic for China winning the Intercontinental Championship. The ladder match was good. And then the Triple H Austin match was pretty goddamn good in a wild brawl. And how you do anything goes hardcore wrestling. But anyway, do you agree? Do you disagree with what I said? Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritland, and I'll see you soon.